Hello, and welcome to the AIDB UAT video for residential management. In this video, we're going to talk about how to create a room assignment for consumers and also close that assignment. We'll also talk about how to complete the residential checklist by creating a documentation record. I'm in the Gentry/Freedom Center ECM application, and to view the rooms, I select the Rooms tab. It will default to the recently viewed list view. I can select a list view for my location, for instance, all Gentry rooms. To pin this list view, select the pin next to the list view. We can now see a list of all rooms at Gentry. It lists the room name, the location, the building, floor, gender, and availability status. When a consumer is going to move in but has not moved in yet, we want to reserve a room that's available. To do this, we're going to select a room record with a status of bed available. After selecting a room, we need to click on the tab within the record called Room Assignments. There's a related list here for room assignments, and we select New. A window pops up for Cottage Room 1 to create a room assignment for a consumer. We are going to change the status to reserved. We're going to search for the client, in this case, Daisy Duck. We're going to add a case record if one exists, and we're going to select if this person is a resident advisor or not. We're going to set a move-in date, and we also need to select a linen status and key status. At this point, those have not been issued because the client has not moved in yet. We can add any pertinent notes and then save the record. This will now update the room status to fully occupied or reserved. When a consumer does move in, we need to edit that assignment. We will click on Room Assignments on the room, select the room assignment, edit that room assignment, and change the status from reserved to occupied. We will now solidify the move-in date and select a linen status of issued and a key status of issued. Now we will save the record. Now the room is updated to a status of occupied. All right, when a consumer moves out, we will need to update this record again. I'm going to navigate to the user's case record, in this case, by searching for the case record at the top in the search bar. I select the consumer's case record, and if we go to the History tab, we can see their room assignments. I'm going to click the Edit drop-down next to the room assignment I want to edit, and I'm going to change the status from occupied to moved out, and I'm going to update the linen status and the key status to returned or not returned, and save the record. Now this room, Cottage Room 1, will again show that it is available for a new consumer to reserve or move into. That concludes my demonstration of how to manage room assignments. Now I want to show you how to manage documentation for residential students. We click on the Documentation tab on the case record and scroll down to the second related list for documentation. We select the New button, and we click the Residential Checklist record type and select Next. This opens a window for the residential checklist. We enter our staff name, a status of completed, and if we need assigned date, expiration date, etc., we can add that information here. Our type has defaulted to residential intake. The next section has room orientation, and we can click the checkboxes for restroom, thermostat, and intercom. The next section, review rules, allows us to check all of the rules that we have reviewed with our consumer. Dress code, visitation rules, sign-out procedure, emergency drills, room cleanliness, security cameras, tobacco, and drugs and alcohol. Lastly, we have the tour section where we can indicate all of the areas we've provided a tour for. I'm going to select dorm offices, emergency exits, laundry room, linen supplies, TV rooms and phones, vending area, rec office, and rec areas. Now we can add any pertinent notes to this record. When we select Save, this documentation record is saved to our list of documentation for the consumer. We might need to create additional documentation records, so I'll demonstrate those as well. On this documentation related list, when we select New, we have the option of AIDB documentation. When we select Next here, we're brought to another type of documentation record where we can select the type. Residence Hall consent form is what I'm going to select here. We can select the status, pending signature or completed or expired. We can enter our staff name, and then we can add any signed or expiration information. If we do add an expiration date and we want to be reminded about that, we'll select the expiration date, check the reminder text checkbox, and add a date for that reminder. This will automatically generate an email to you or whomever is in the staff lookup for this date of reminder. We can add any notes here. Once we press save, it will save this record. If we then open that record, we'll see the information about the documentation record, and we can click over to Files and actually upload a copy of that Residence Hall consent form by selecting the Upload Files button, which will take us to our computer. Once a file is saved here, it will be visible on the record. And again, all these documentation records will be saved to the case record. That concludes my demonstration of the documentation feature, which has residential checklist as well as other documentation options. This video covered rooms, room assignments, residential checklist, and other documentation. I invite you to follow along and test this using the UAT testing guide, which has added detail about each of the steps that I reviewed in this video. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you following along.